What is up, guys? The Vandy Blitz is back from our little hiatus, and today we will be getting into some fun segments with the championship games in the NFL and finish off with the big UFC card coming up. So, to start off, we'll get into the Chiefs versus the Bills. Whacker, you want to take us away with what you think for this game?
Sure. So, if it were a traditional week in the NFL, this would be a really, really thrilling matchup. But I think we all maybe have the same sense that the Chiefs would probably take this game. But, with the uncertainty surrounding Patrick Mahomes, the concussion, maybe he comes back, maybe he isn't 100%, maybe that shook up the confidence of the team a little bit. If they have Chad Henne taking snaps, I don't see this team beating Buffalo. I think this energized Buffalo. I think Buffalo's riding a high. I've been saying this for the past couple weeks. This is their first playoff run since 1998, and they're farther than already most people thought they would be. Even though the Bills were expected to win against the Ravens, I feel like, at least here, the general consensus was that the Ravens were a team that we expected to beat the Bills. Maybe not me, but the general consensus was that. And this week, with the uncertainty surrounding Mahomes, even if he is back, the big play potential of this Buffalo Bills team, this Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs combination, this energy that this team has because of this playoff run that hasn't happened in so long for the city, and the support of the fans. The Bills Mafia is going crazy. Honestly, I think Bills take this, depending on the circumstances at quarterback for the Chiefs. Again, hard to make a staunch prediction right now because we don't know necessarily.
I think let's predict as if Mahomes is playing.
Okay, so we're going to predict as if Mahomes is playing then. That changes things a little bit, but I still take the Bulls in a 30-27 game.
Yeah, the thing that I think about is the most important. Obviously, Mahomes being injured, any quarterback being injured, and we saw Chad Henne is incredibly inconsistent. He's not.
You see that throw, that one bomb that the Browns intercepted? I was like, what
that was embarrassing.
What are you thinking?
But what I was gonna say is, I think a lot of people look past the aspect that Patrick Mahomes does run the ball when needed. And he makes plays with his feet, and he'll pick up those first downs every now and then that we look back at Mahomes and we obviously think insane passer, like more of a passing threat, which he is, but overlooking because he's not going to be going for those runs in this game. I guarantee you if he plays, Andy Reid's going to say, no matter what, if you have to scramble, you're going to throw the ball away. We're not going to take another chance with you because it really didn't even seem like he took that hard of a hit when he got the concussion. And obviously I can't judge, obviously it was probably a very hard hit, but I'm saying that they're gonna want to be careful with him. They're not gonna want to risk it because even if they win the game and he's injured, it's at what cost? They'll end up losing in the Super Bowl. They need Mahomes. They cannot make it with Chad Henne. They barely survived with him playing the last drive or whatever. So they need Mahomes, and they got to make sure that he doesn't injure himself. But we got to keep in mind that the potential of those little maybe a third and long or third and short where he runs it and it keeps the momentum going, we won't have that anymore. It's going to be Mahomes playing it.
That is a big aspect of the Chiefs offense. They are unpredictable. They could run it, they could pass it, or they could run it with the quarterback, and they could, throw it 60 yards or 4 yards. That's what makes them so dynamic. But that is something that's taken out of this game. So that's an interesting point, regardless of if he does play. Just something I wanted to put in. Andrew, I know you were trying to say something. I think I heard something about Mahomes passing all the in-stadium tests that he needed to pass. So I guess there is some optimism about him playing generally, which is why we're going to be predicting it this way, which is why Wilf said that earlier for you viewers at home, because it's looking like he's probably going to play. So, yeah.
Obviously, what Josh Allen and Diggs and what that offense is doing is really special, but what a lot of people are overlooking about the Ravens-Bills game this weekend was it was really the Bills' defense that won them the game. And I think that's the matchup to watch because if the Bills' defense can stop the Chiefs to 20 or less points, they will win the game. That's what the key is.
The Bills' defense, though, they're inconsistent, I guess you could say, but
absolutely.
Honestly, when you're looking at it from a scale of season by season, they were elite. 3 seasons ago, the Bills' defense was one of the most elite defenses in the league. They were a brick wall, hard to get past. It was the strong point of that team. It seems as if they've transitioned more to this offensive focus, this offensive coaching focus.
And that's yeah.
But can we expect the defense to step up, or is that more of something that comes and we're like, oh, holy shit, that just happened? I don't know if we can necessarily go into this game and say the Bills defense is the matchup to watch. That's what's going to make a difference, because what the hell do we expect from them? Like,
Yeah,
they've
but the thing about these playoff games, and like we saw it so clearly in that Breeze Brady game, like these games come down to like the smallest of margins, like one takeaway, like one sack in a big moment, one big play is like that's all that these teams need to really like pull ahead. So like as you want to say that, like it's like in my eyes, it's like whoever's making that play. And I think what the Chiefs are going to do, again, we're assuming that Mahomes is playing. He's been a limited participant the past 2 days. I think what they're going to want to do is really control the ball. And if you look back to the game they played earlier in the year, they outpaced the Bills' offense by 200 yards, and they really pounded the ball. Clyde had like over 120 yards.
Is he back though? Is he back? Is he healthy?
I saw him practicing. I don't know if he's healthy, but I mean, they still have Bell and Williams out there. I think that they're going to control ball, and I think, at least in my opinion, I think the Chiefs' defense is better than the Bills. They looked really sharp against the Browns.
And one more thing that we want to think about when we think about the Chiefs, you look at the stats, and I always like to go back to it. They were first in total yards per game, and they were first on total passing yards. Rushing yards not as much because we were talking about that Clyde injury, but they just have those playmakers, and I think it was you, Jacob, that just said it. It's that one play, that momentum, and the Chiefs are such a momentum-driven team where it's like, for me, they've had one loss the past 2 seasons. It's too good to be true. Oh, 2 losses because of the Charger game, but it feels too good to be true. And
Yeah.
I said that last week with the Bills. I admit I was very wrong with the Ravens. I will never ever bet on Lamar Jackson again.
No, you can't say that though.
Lamar Jackson.
We had a conversation about this on the podcast. You guys were all saying Ravens because Lamar step it up in the playoffs. We've never seen that, and he got. I mean, not his fault that he got injured, but even before he got injured, like wasn't what we anticipated from Lamar. So
he's Giannis Antetokounmpo for the NFL. He's the guy that he's very one-dimensional. Giannis can't.
Don't make that.
Lamar can't.
Giannis Lamar. I don't like that. I like more like a Damian Lillard Lamar. But
really Damian can do everything.
Flashy, entertaining, regular season player. Gets to the playoffs, can do something once in a while, but you don't expect him to really go all the way in the playoffs every year. Oh, snap. Hodges has joined the call. One more thing I wanted to say about the Chiefs Bills game. Hodges, that's what we're talking about right now, the Chiefs Bills game. Before maybe we'll let Theo get some thoughts on it and then move on to the big, what I see is the big matchup of the weekend. The Brady game. Le'Veon Bell, his career has been pretty tumultuous, and is he still that dynamic playmaker potential guy? Because on the Chiefs this season, I haven't heard shit about Le'Veon Bell. On the Jets, he had some moments, but I didn't really hear shit about Le'Veon Bell. But on the Steelers, 3 years ago, dude was the best running back in the league. So,
and I don't think that has anything to do with Le'Veon. I think that's just the position. It's so expendable. And
so then the question is he going to be a guy, if Mahomes is not playing at 100%, that we look to as a difference maker in this game? Is Le'Veon Bell a potential X factor for the Chiefs?
I don't think so. I think he's a great running back, but he is not the running back he was in Pittsburgh.
If you want to talk about controlling the tempo, though, I mean, I remember watching last week when the Bills were playing. It was a crazy stat. In the first half, I think they only ran the ball once, and I could be wrong, but it was they were passing every single play. There was no runs. There was no design Josh Allen runs. There was one handoff to Singletary. So are they just gonna switch up the whole their whole strategy against the Chiefs and try to also play ball control? Who knows what's gonna happen? I also want to add one more thing. In these games, and this just makes it even harder to decide who you think's gonna win. In these games, it comes down to coaching, and I would put Sean McDermott up against Andy Reid. Obviously, I think Andy Reid's better, but it's they're both very good coaches, so it's very hard to decide what's going to happen. We'll see. I mean, Andy Reid with that call last week, that gutsy 4th down on the 50-yard line, that's the kind of calls that's this guy's either an idiot or a genius, and he shows every time he's a genius. So,
yeah, it's just a really interesting matchup. Just to recap for Theo before we move on to the next game, I predicted the Bills take this game. we're working under the assumption that Mahomes is going to play. Not necessarily saying he's going to play, as the Mahomes we know, but that we're going to assume that he's going to play. So I said Bills. Why don't you guys recap what you said, and then we'll let Theo go, and then transfer to the Bucks game.
Yeah, I was saying that what the Bills have been doing is great, and obviously I made a mistake last week counting them out, but I think what's really important in these championship games is being home. And one other the Chiefs are so momentum driven where I just don't see it happening. And even if Mahomes is not the Patrick Mahomes we know, they have so many stars around him to cover that up and play through that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs as well. Obviously, assuming Mahomes plays, I just think that he's not gonna lose this game.
I got Chiefs.
I'm riding the Bills. I'm excited.
As much as I like to
have another upset in the Vandy Blitz. In the Vandy
Yeah,
Blitz.
no, this is definitely a tough one to choose, but I don't know. To be honest with you, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs. I agree with Andrew in that your home field advantage is huge, especially when you can have fans at the game, which I'm
limited fans. It's not like
it's still fans though. Still people cheering you on.
And in Kansas City, they scream loud enough to make it feel like it's like a normal.
In Buffalo, they jump on so many broken tables and scream so loud you'll hear them from across the country. So the fan support. I mean, I guess the home field advantage. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being stubborn, but I like the Bills.
And that's not me taking anything away from the Bills. They're obviously a great football team, and they've proved that up until this point. I also was on the Ravens train last week, and obviously that was a silly thing to say, but I think this is where the road stops for the Bills. I think the Chiefs are going to take this one, and like Mahomes is injured, but I don't know. I just don't see the Bills winning this game. I think regardless of whether Mahomes plays at 100% or 75%, he's still going to have a day and show why he got the amount of money that he did. And ultimately, I see the Chiefs winning this game. So,
all right. Well, looks like I'm outnumbered 4-1. We'll see how it turns out. But I could be wrong. You guys could be right. Let's talk about what I think. I think we all are we in agreement that this is the game to watch this weekend, the Brady Rodgers NFC Championship matchup.
I think they're both really entertaining, honestly.
I do too.
I think I don't think this is more of an outlier of the game to watch. Because I honestly think that this game, I don't even want to say it because it's probably just gonna be the opposite of what happens. But I think this game could be more boring potentially than the Chiefs Bills.
What do you mean by boring? Do you mean less like playmaking?
I mean less like playmaking. like when you're watching a game, I would get more. I feel like there's gonna be more excitement and more closeness in the Chiefs Bills game. But as opposed to, I think that in this game we could see Rodgers blow him out of the water, or it could be a good game. I don't know. I'm not a big Bucks fan. I just don't really like them, so it's hard for me to be unbiased. But Devontae is playing so good. It's honestly really hard to talk against the Packers. I like the Packers in this one.
Yeah, I think the one thing that sort of differentiates this game from the other games from the other game that we're going to see this weekend, plus the other games that have been played in the playoffs, maybe not last week's Brady Breeze matchup, there's legacies involved. There's so much more on the table. When I was watching the Brady Breeze game, even at the non-exciting moments, I still felt that little pit in my stomach because I was like, holy shit, what if Brady loses? What does that say about his legacy? Leaving Belichick, loses in the first playoff run, and he has a great team. Now Breeze, throwing 3 interceptions. I'm like, there's so much emotion involved in these games. And I think the same thing can be said for this Rodgers Brady matchup. And I do agree the Packers, super, super good offense, really powerful team. Devontae, Rodgers, that tandem, that duo just looks like Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, not the same archetypes, but on steroids. That wide receiver quarterback connection is so strong, and it can win them games single-handedly. But I will never, ever, ever, ever in my life, in a conference championship game, bet against Tom Brady. Never, ever in my life will I ever do that. So I'm going to take the Bucs to win this game just because Tom Brady finds a way to win. He does. He's done it throughout his career, and I think he's going to do it now.
And I think
I wanna
It's
say to you is,
annoying though, 'cause he didn't even.
please put your money where your mouth is, because all I'm saying is both teams that you've taken so far are both underdogs, and if you hit like a parlay or some shit with that, like you'd be rich. But I don't know. I
I
don't
might
know.
have to do it then.
Dude, I'm just saying I'm gonna be. I understand like the whole like Brady gets it done, but look
But
at
you
last,
don't though. Like I don't think you
last
understand the
week.
scale. He's been to more championship games than like most other franchises, and he's won like 95% of them. This
I know.
guy does not lose in the
He's the GOAT.
playoffs.
And
It's what
He's the GOAT.
separates
Yeah,
him
with
from the GOAT.
Belichick as his head coach.
let me add
Yeah,
one.
so what do we
yeah.
say? Belichick didn't
Joe-
even make the playoffs. You can't use that as an
Joe,
argument
Joe,
for
what were
against
you gonna
Brady
say?
when he's so far and away outperformed Belichick this season.
It's
You
not an
can't say that
argument
about
against
Brady.
Brady. It's
Listen,
an
he's
argument
the
that
GOAT, but I'll say this.
It is an argument against Brady's legacy, saying
the GOAT.
Belichick enabled
I
him.
think that Brady last game, it wasn't Brady won the game. It was the defense won the game. It was.
But that's every Brady team. That's every Brady
No,
team.
but it's not only
That
every
is
Brady
football.
team, it's the
This is my
attitude.
thing.
Will,
That's
the attitude that Brady brings to the table is
That's football.
what's contagious. It's
So-
what makes this football team step it up, and it's why he wins. So you might say Brady wins because of his defense. This defense got sparked a lot of times during the season. They're not like the best defense in the league or anything, but they won that game last week because
Yeah.
I'm betting Brady inspired them. Because
So
they're
this is
playing
what
with
I have to
GOAT.
say.
Because
I
they know
think-
they have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl this year, and they know that they have the best football player ever leading their offense, and that's inspiring to them. I would bet.
One thing, Wilf, before I move on. Last week, the Bucks did not win. The Saints lost. That's how I look at it. The Saints gave them that game. 4 turnovers. And I'm not taking away from the Bucks. I'm just saying the Saints should have. The Saints had everything that they could have won that game had they minimized mistakes. Could that be somewhat attributed to Brady? For sure. He brings an attitude wherever he goes. It's like the LeBron effect. You go somewhere, like obviously it's different in different sports, but like that same winning attitude, such detail-oriented focus. I think he's the GOAT by far, best quarterback ever, and just the way his whole attitude, whatever. But I would say this: last game, you need to look at these turnovers that happen, and also I hate that Breeze. Like I love that guy, and it just pained me so much to see him like make all those mistakes. But like the first pick was all his fault. The second one, miscommunication with Kamara. Who knows whose fault it was. The third one, it's on Jared Cook because it just bounced off his shoulder. And then Jared Cook also had 0 ball security on the other turnover. So it's like you look at those 4 turnovers, like you're not winning a game in the playoffs. You're not winning a regular season game if you have 4 turnovers in a game. So no matter what anyone, they gave away the game and they're so unclutched in the playoffs.
I just want to say
Championship-
one more thing. I just
Yeah.
want to say one more thing, Wilf, just about this Brady conversation. Then we'll probably move off like to something else because I don't want it to take up.
No,
all
I
the
just
time
want to
talking
say my
about-
thoughts on the game. I just want to say my thoughts on the game. real
Okay,
quick.
okay. I want to talk a little bit more about the Brady effect and why I think he will
Yeah.
single-handedly lead them to the Super Bowl this year.
Can I just say my thought on the game? So this is what we have to think about. This is going to be Rodgers' 5th conference championship game, and he's never been at home. Green Bay, 20-degree weather. We need to factor that in. Another thing is we're so used to Brady hosting it in New England. Obviously, he won that one year in Kansas City in the championship game. But I think what's really exciting to me is I don't care about the big plays. It's like the defense is what's going to win the game, and I don't. It's so cool to see Brady versus Rodgers because usually it's like we're not seeing them unless they're going to be in a Super Bowl together, and that's so rare. And now we're seeing them twice, and they are the 2 best quarterbacks of this generation. I'd say maybe Peyton, maybe Breeze, but
I think you gotta put Rodgers ahead of Peyton because of the play. I love Peyton Manning, but it's just because of the playoff success.
I'm just so excited for this game, and like I hate the Packers so much. I think they're gonna win because I think if Rodgers has had such worse teams before, like he has had so many less chances than Brady, and I think Rodgers really is gonna take that.
I agree with you, Andrew. Like the thing about this, like the Packers are playing flawless football right now. They just look so sharp, like on both sides of the ball. Like Aaron Jones is an absolute animal. And I can't remember Aaron Rodgers throwing an incompletion. Like I just don't have that. Like every time I see him throw, he's connecting with Adams. But yeah, like you said, the Saints Bucks game, like the Saints looked really good. They looked better than the Bucks like a lot of that game. there were just these errors that really turned it. I don't know. I'm feeling the Packers really run away with it just in Lambeau. I mean, Rodgers looks great this year. And they just look like a different team, more confident than ever. And like you said, Rodgers hasn't had as many chances. And we have to remember the Bucks Packers game earlier this year. That was a mess. The Packers really let that get out of hand, and I think that they'll want to turn that around for
Just
sure.
like Brady with the breeze, Rodgers is gonna use that like as motivation.
Exactly.
I guess you could say that, but Brady's thrown 4,600 yards this season, his most since 2015. Are you saying 2015 Brady's going to lose this game? No. Brady threw 40 touchdowns this season, his most since 2007. Like, you guys are not giving Brady, the greatest football player of all time, on this super team that he's kind of constructed. Like, let's be honest, the weapons that he has on offense, it's ridiculous. I just don't see him losing. Like, I just don't see it, because he's proved to me throughout his career that he finds a way to win. And you're saying like cold weather. Brady was the king of snow games in Gillette. Like, I don't know if you can necessarily say that's going to knock him off his game. Maybe the rest of the team you could talk about, and football is a team sport, but it's just, I understand, because the Packers do look so good this year. They do.
2015, Tom Brady lost in the AFC Championship game to Peyton Manning before he rode off into the sunset. So.
Okay, but then I'm just saying he won like a Super Bowl both years around that year.
Brady's goated. Like, I'm not saying he's not.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is like I think there's
it's impressive that he's here. I would have never thought it.
But I think there's this sort of appearance bias, this familiarity bias where you're like, oh, we've seen Brady in this position so many times. We've seen him win the Super Bowl so many times. There's another awesome, great quarterback who hasn't done it like that. Let's give him his turn. And I think that's why a lot of people see the Packers just like, because when I talk to people, they don't think this game is going to be close. Like, you guys have only talked about, from what I've heard of our conversation, it's only been either the Packers blow them out or it's a good game. There's the Bucks blow them out. Nobody thinks the Bucks are going to take this game like that. And I think there's a little bias there. And I think that they're underestimating Tom Brady.
I don't disagree. I haven't disagreed with like anything that you said. Like, Brady's a winner. I loved him against the Saints last week. I just think that the Packers are a better football team. I think their defense is better. Their run game is better. And I think that they are the better team. I mean, that's how I see it.
Honestly, I agree. But I think that the attitude Brady brings and that sort of...
He changed the culture. That's what he did.
The culture is different.
Jameis Winston wouldn't even brought this team with these weapons to the playoffs.
Nope. And Brady, you see what Bruce Arians is even saying from the sideline. Like, Brady has a lot more shot calling freedom this year than he has in the past. And he's got all this experience. I think he's one of the most winningest players, most determined, most hardworking. He knows the books. He knows what this team likes to run. He knows what his receivers are good at. I think they win this game, but I don't think it's going to be close. I don't mean to talk down on the Packers. It's just, there's such like I don't know if maybe I'm contriving this just because I'm being defensive, because like, I don't know, but I feel like there's such an overwhelming thought that the Packers take this game. So I just want to push back against that with some equal intensity to get it to where I think it needs to be, which is where this is anyone's game. But personally, I think Brady takes it. I've said that 100 times. Though.
It'd be really cool if he won. It'd be awesome if Brady won.
I think one thing I'll say is, key for success in order for the Packers to make this because Packers obviously have the firepower on offense. We all know that. They can keep up with the Bucks on offense for sure. Only thing I'd say is, I think the way that you get to Brady, and this is just a general, I think is a fact. The way you affect Brady in a game, any game you play, is pass rush. If you knock him down a few times, he's not the same. If Zadarius Smith can get some hits on him, we might see something. We might see a blowout, because I think that once you get a couple hits on him, the production goes down. The only thing that I can say to counter my own point is that the Bucks linemen are the scariest people like I've ever seen like in my life. Like, there's that one dude with the long hair, and he was like leveling the Saints like linebackers, like such dirty shots throughout the entire game. I'm like, wow, that guy would.
They do not want anyone touching Tom Brady. No. They don't want anyone touching him.
No, but Joe, I think you're very right. I was watching a game with my friends, and I kept saying, I don't know who the defensive coordinator for the Bucs is, but they would send 8 guys.
Todd Bowles is.
Todd Bowles would send like these hot blitzes at Breeze, and Breeze would not have time. He would never be
It
comfortable.
was genius.
Brady, on the other hand, would have fucking 5 hours to sit in the pocket, scan the entire field 3 times, and then throw the ball. Like, they need to get pressure on him if they want to win this game. And I think
but I don't know if
ability
Green,
to do that. And I also think that they have a very good secondary. So I don't know. I think they're defensively, like, they can stand up to Brady, but it's a matter of coaching, I think, ultimately, and how they decide to approach the game in terms of, are they going to sit back and like sit in a zone, or are they going to go and get him and put him on his ass and then see where it goes from there?
So right before we move on, I want to know who do you guys think will be winning the Super Bowl in 2 weeks? What are your guys' picks?
Packers.
For me, it's Kansas City. I just love the team, and I'm really excited. And they're just my favorite team to watch right now.
I have Green Bay.
That's right, Joe.
Yeah, I was gonna say Green Bay too, but it's Green Bay or the Chiefs to me. It feels pretty simple, which makes me think that it won't be that easy. But
Never the Bucks. Never.
I hear you guys. I hear you. I think it's a Bucks-Bills Super Bowl, and I think Tom Brady's experience. I think he gets another ring and solidifies himself as the GOAT.
And that'd be the first time a team plays in their home stadium in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's literally like it's a Cinderella story for Brady. He gets knocked out in the first round, leaves New England, gets the super team built around him. The coach gives him more liberty. To Super Bowls in Tampa Bay. Antonio Brown, Gronk comes back. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin beats Breeze. I mean, I bet you more people. I mean, maybe not this year, but at the start of the year, more people were probably like, "Oh, Breeze versus oh Brady." I mean, versus oh Rodgers. So I don't know. I think it's the Bucks. We'll see.
Wacker, you should join the Brady family so you can kiss him on the lips.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm not even like being a Brady fanboy. I'm just saying you guys are.
I mean, you are though. You
I
love
think you're
it.
discounting
sit
the
there
effect.
and say, "Oh, Brady!" Like, come on, bro.
I'm not saying it because it's like, oh, Brady. I'm saying it because I actually think the football is going to translate that way.
All right.
And that's the way I feel with Andy Reid.
I just hate the man.
How about this?
I respect him for being a very good football player. I just really hope he loses.
We'll see. We might have to make like a side bet, after the episode or something. All right, but hey, let's transition to UFC 257. Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. This is happening on Sunday morning for us. It's going to be in Abu Dhabi. And I'm really, really hyped about this fight. So I know not everybody here is super into fighting, but what do you guys think? Poirier, McGregor, give me your thoughts. Oh, it's Saturday. Okay, sorry. It says Sunday when oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't watch UFC too often. I have one friend, besides Joe, obviously, who's really into it, but I have one friend from home who's like huge UFC guy, and he's been saying all along, like, I don't see McGregor losing this fight. And he's like, I don't see it going past maybe 2 or 3 rounds at most, because McGregor's just been that guy for so long. Like, I remember watching him. I forget who he was. Was it Cowboy when he hit him with the shoulders, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that fight was like crazy. I was like, this guy's insane. Like, he's always been a dominant fighter. And I don't know much about Poirier, but I just know McGregor is intense and scary. So I see him taking that fight.
Yeah, I think the guy's a dog, and he's battle tested, and he's said, and he goes through, like, obviously with the exception of Khabib, and obviously Mayweather, every fight he says what's gonna happen, and it happens.
You
Like,
can't use that Mayweather one
he
against
does
him.
everything
Because he's not a boxer.
Exactly.
He does, yeah, and that's a whole different debate. But like, he does everything right. He's just such a versatile fighter with all the different styles that he has, he incorporates like Taekwondo with all the different fighting styles into his regimen. And I do acknowledge though that Dustin Poirier is a completely like different fighter than when they first met. When they first met, Poirier completely let McGregor get into his head. I don't know if you've ever seen the press conferences and stuff, but like it was funny. Poirier,
it was like
hilarious.
A back home redneck. He was like,
yeah,
I'm fighting
like
a
a
back home
hillbilly
redneck. I'm gonna bounce his head off the canvas.
Yeah, dude. That was like the beginning of like McGregor like taking over the world with like the shit talk, and like it was the best. Like that was when you also knew like this guy's legit. and the way that he knocked him out too was like a really gruesome, like literally bouncing his head off the canvas. Like it was like actual, like he was dribbling a basketball. So like
He monkey
thing is,
fisted
though, I'll
his
say this:
head.
they fought at 145. Poirier moved up to 155, and that's what they're fighting at right now. And his chin got a lot stronger. And when he was fighting McGregor at first, his chin was really weak. Anytime he got hit in the chin, he basically would go down. So I don't know if it's going to end in the way that McGregor says within like 60 seconds, but eventually it's going to happen. McGregor's going to get him, and he's going to beat him. But you know, if this fight, if Poirier can withstand the damage for a while, he could squeak out in maybe later rounds. But I just see this line has moved. It's ridiculous. This line has moved from minus 160 from when it opened for McGregor. It's minus 310 now. Like it's moved so far since they first opened the bet. Everyone is on McGregor train. I really don't think a lot of people think Poirier is going to win. So I think McGregor is going to get this one as well.
And I think the thing with McGregor is that the way he fights versus the way Poirier fights, it's like it's more aggressive and it's more assertive, and I think it's really going to be exciting. I think it's really important. You're saying the predicting and saying that he's going to win. He retires and unretires, but when he unretires, he does it for a reason. And McGregor, he's at this point doing it to show he's the best fighter ever. Like Poirier's not even on this level. I think even minus 310 odds isn't fair. I think McGregor wins very early.
See, I'm not trying to necessarily come at you too hard, but I think that that's a non-seasoned MMA fan's perspective. Dustin Poirier is a dog. He's literally like, you can tell by the way he fights that he has experienced street fighting. That's where he developed these instincts. He pulls his shorts up, which don't move.
I didn't know that, but I know all I know is McGregor's a dog too.
Yeah, and McGregor is a dog. McGregor is a generational striker. He's got incredible accuracy. He's not the quickest, he's not the strongest, but he has incredible accuracy, and he's assertive. He's calculated with his strikes, which it makes his striking, otherworldly, to be real. And his game on the ground, he's no slouch. He was cutting up Chad Mendez, who's a great wrestler from the ground, from the bottom. He's a great fighter, well-rounded. It's just hard to say though, because I think this weight cut will make a difference, and I don't think we're going to see an exact redo of the last fight. McGregor came out and absolutely dusted Cowboy. He's only lost in the UFC to Nate Diaz and Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he avenged that loss to Nate Diaz. I don't see that loss to Khabib as anything that shakes my foundation of what I saw Conor as before. He's a predominantly striking, however, not not one-dimensionally striking fighter. But Khabib is just like the best on the ground ever in history. So I think it was a bad matchup for him. But I think Conor wins this not so quickly. I think he wins it with a second or third round KO. But I think Dustin impresses a lot of people. I think, even though I think McGregor's going to win, I think Dustin is not being considered as he should be, because if you watch his fight against, we can talk about the rest of the card a little bit too. Dan Hooker is on the undercard. If you watch Dustin Poirier's last fight against Dan Hooker, he ate some big shots. He was throwing bombs. Dan Hooker was.
But how about McGregor against Poirier in 2014, KOing him in the first round?
But that was at 145. He's cutting less weight, and Poirier since then has looked like a championship pedigree fighter.
They both have improved since then. This is what I'd say. In your comparison to the Dan Hooker fight, I think that's a great way to look at it, that he can take a lot of damage. Only thing I'd say though about it is that Dan Hooker is not like a knockout artist. He's like a volume striker. He doesn't secure. He's not. He probably has secured knockouts. I don't really know off the top of my head. But when I do envision Dan Hooker, I think of him more as like a volume striker, and that's like perfect for Dustin Poirier because he can take a lot of damage and still dish a lot of damage. He's really good for those long fights. I just think McGregor doesn't match up for him the same way that he didn't last time they met, because McGregor has so much power in that left hand. No one can take it. Like, and the only guy
you're not gonna be okay.
The only guy that's been able to withstand his left hand is obviously he really never landed it on Khabib, so it didn't really ever happen. But Nate Diaz has the most iron chin, like.
And they were fighting at 170. Like Nate Diaz, They were fighting at 170. He's a bigger guy. Connor's 5'9". Like he's not. Nate Diaz is 6 foot. There was a size difference. Nate Diaz was probably in that cage 10 pounds heavier than what he weighed in as, and Connor was probably in that cage like a pound lighter. Honestly.
Yeah, still, but the thing is though, Diaz has never been knocked out, so he definitely has an iron chin no matter what.
Didn't he get knocked out by Masvidal?
No, he didn't get knocked out.
TKO. He got TKO.
It was a doctor stoppage.
Right.
But basically, yeah. McGregor is who I picked for this. If we want to talk about this, really quickly, the Dan Hooker Michael Chandler fight, because I know we're going a little bit over on time. I don't want to cut you guys. Any of you guys want to still talk about McGregor? Like any predictions?
No, I just had one more thing to say. I was watching his interview the other day where he was saying, like, I think the interviewer said, like, would you rather knock Poirier out in 60 seconds or would you like to go to a war? And he's like, honestly, I'd rather have a war. Like, he's ready to go. Which, and like for me, that's a sick thing to say. That's like so like.
No, these guys
you have to be
Did
like.
you see what he said at the press conference?
It's a mind fuck.
Right. He's more humble, but he's also like, I'm ready to put on a performance for the ages. He's not the same, like offensively, maybe like in your face talking shit about you, Conor McGregor, but he's still, I think he's like this, he's still the assassin that he was. He still got that same intensity, but having kids, fighting in all these spectacles, I think he's learned a little bit more about how to handle himself in press conferences more respectfully, maybe not as entertainingly so, but more respectfully to the other fighter.
But think about it. He's matured a lot and he's already made a lot of money. He doesn't need to do that anymore if he doesn't want to. And
it's all about his legacy now.
Yeah. Imagine Jake Paul thinking he's actually going to get this fight.
Nah, he's not.
The Jake Paul thing, I think, is like such bullshit. I think it's a disrespect if McGregor even says yes to it.
McGregor's not going to say yes. McGregor is fighting for his legacy. Like, as you said, maybe not to be the best fighter of all time. Maybe he is, because I think this could set up a rematch with Khabib. I don't know if he's completely retired. He was talking with Dana a little bit ago. But I don't think he's fighting for money. I don't think he's fighting for glory. I don't think he's fighting for clicks, which is why his press conference demeanor has changed so much. He's not trying to sell the fights like that. He's trying to train, come in, do one press event, sell some pay-per-views, make some money, and absolutely kill the other person in the ring. And that's all he wants to do.
Yeah,
How he was respectful with Cowboy. He blitzed him. He cut him up with his elbow, his shoulder, his fist. Like, it was brutal. And I think we're going to see that same sort of
He never stopped training.
Aggression today.
He never stopped training since Cowboy. Like he probably took a couple days off and kept training for the whole year.
That was a year ago.
He's a crazy hard worker, and people overlook that because they think he's so good at shit talking. He's so good at this, but they forget that he actually backs it up every single time. Now, okay, let's get into the next fight just really quickly. Like we'll just brush over this one, even though this is the only other one that's really important on the card, in my opinion.
Oh, can we talk? How about we talk a little bit about Max Holloway? And then after this fight, before we end.
Yeah, after this fight. Sure. So Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler. Interesting part about this fight for anyone that doesn't know, Michael Chandler, there's this other no other company really rivals the UFC and MMA, but there's this company called Bellator, which is like the second most popular one. And Michael Chandler was the champion for the lightweight division in Bellator, doing really well there. And then obviously if he got called, the UFC wanted to sign him, and he was like, for sure, it's a way better company and way more glory and skill in it. Yeah. So he's the number one. He was the champion there in the same division. So now he's coming over. He's unranked, obviously, but he's the betting underdog against Dan Hooker. What?
This is his first fight, Joe?
This is his first fight in the UFC, yeah. So it's a really interesting to see. Like, it's gonna actually be it's a pretty big fight, not because of the names, but really because this will set a precedent for the Bellator guys. If
it has some reflection on the MMA standings, because this is the top guy in Bellator, their champion.
No, this is really their champion. He was their most he had the most personality in that division. He was basically carrying that division, and he came over here, and now he's still. It's surprising to me that he's the underdog, but he has a wrestling background. I know he's done a lot of wrestling. He's a really good striker. So I honestly think there's a lot of value to take him here at plus 105. But at the same time though, Dan Hooker is such a big dude too.
His dirty boxing is so unpredictable and I don't understand how some of his shots land, but they do, and they look like they hurt. This guy is no joke on the feet. And
it's really gonna be a good fight.
His knees are terrifying. He's literally trying to club your head in with his knee. It's a really scary thing.
He's a huge dude too. Like in the lightweight division, he's like 6'2". Like I've seen some videos of him and like Adesanya sparring because they're on the same team, and like he's literally like literally looks bigger than Adesanya, and like Adesanya is like now 2 weight classes above him. So like in the cage, he's gonna be bigger than Chandler, but I think Chandler is still a good value bet here, like at plus 105, because like he has knockout power and he wants to prove something, and he's representing the other company, obviously UFC now, but like he's got to prove something, and like Dan Hooker's a great, can take a lot of damage, one of the best fighters in the world, but like we'll see. I honestly I don't
You're
know,
right,
I don't know what's gonna happen.
I think Chandler's a big threat, and I actually think he's going to win this fight. I think it's like a sort of Ben Askren versus Robbie Lawler kind of thing, where you gauge his talent with like a mid-level, upper-level guy in the division, which is what this is. And then I think he wins this fight, and then he gets into the real like number one contender zone. But now that we've talked about that, I think we just need to mention just once at least the way that Max Holloway was literally talking to the announcers saying, I'm the best boxer in the UFC. And no look lands like a freaking right straight on this dude's chin and proceeds to win the fight in like spectacular fashion. Thought it was a great performance from the Blessed Express, Hawaii local. So, you know, being from Hawaii, I automatically am a big fan. But I think that he's coming for the crown in that featherweight division. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what he does after this, because that fight was like, I was watching, I was like, holy shit, this guy is no joke. He's here. He's ready to die in the cage, you know?
And one more thing I want to add about UFC. I think it's a great sport, but even a better video game. And to all our viewers, highly recommend you guys playing that. Just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah. UFC 2 or 3?
3.
Okay. Fair game.
Yeah,
Well,
no, that was great. That was a great main event. It really showed like Holloway is really revamped himself. He's a great fighter, but like that was actually insane. And it was also crazy just because like the amount of damage that Calvin Kattar took, like I mean Dana like even said after the fight, he was thinking about like making the corner throw the towel in for him in the 4th round because he was getting the shit
he's a warrior though.
beaten out of him. Like
Calvin
it was
Kattar
actually like,
great.
and I look back at the highlights now because I watched it and I really wasn't like in my right mind to like realize how much damage he was taking. But like he took like I thought like I look at the highlights now and I'm like this guy could have actually died. Like he took so much damage, and like props to him. I have a lot of respect for him, but like it shows you it's like they market this fight up and they're like, this guy has knockout power, whatever. But it doesn't even matter if you have knockout power if you're being blitzed the entire time. You can't throw knockout power off your back foot. And the entire fight, for all 25 minutes, Holloway pushed the pressure on him the entire fight. So what's he gonna do?
Cardio and pace are like Colby Covington. Like,
Yeah,
that's the kind of pace that we're talking about here. That's what makes these kind of fighters, you know, where they're not necessarily the big knockout artists. Him, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, you know, Usman has knockout power, but they're more like they'll come at you, they'll stay in your face, they'll touch you up, and they'll wear you down until you can't take it anymore. So I think that was just an exciting card for the future of the UFC in the featherweight division. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff just happening throughout the company now. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Volkanovski is the champion at the moment,
Yeah.
right?
He beat Max in a very controversial fight.
Max won it.
Yeah, exactly. As Joe said, I was about to say, some think Max won. I could see it going either way. I thought it was
Really,
just
like everyone thought he won. It was just
Yeah,
it was
like
bullshit.
70 to 85% of people thought Max won that fight, and he got the decision taken from him. So that might also be a motivator on his like mission to the top.
That's what I'm saying. Like after that fight, he had an insane fight. I mean, people were saying it's like the best fight ever from him. So if he can perform like that again against Volkanovski, if he wants to fight him again and get that title, I could see it happening. And as you guys were saying, apparently he did win the first fight. I guess
There will be more scrutiny on the decision this time for sure, because like if he gets robbed a second time, people will lose their fucking minds.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, I guess that wraps up a great episode of the Vandy Blitz. Obviously, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We love our fans so much, you know, and we'll be producing a lot more. We might try to shorten our episodes a little bit and produce some clips on our YouTube just to keep people engaged, and you don't have time to watch a full episode, you can just check in with us with those little clips. So be sure to
Don't forget to subscribe.
And don't forget to subscribe. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace. Good shit, boys. Jacob turned his camera off.